Hi there, I'm Sarah Beth from Sarah Beth Yoga, a YouTube yoga channel to help you stretch, strengthen, tone, de-stress, and become your best self on and off the mat. So if you're new here, make sure you check out the rest of my channel and subscribe. Today, I want to tell you my birth story, my second birth story, actually, because my first one with baby Roman is on my YouTube channel, and I'll link it in the description of this video and somewhere on screen as well. This is for my second child, Napoleon. We call him Leo for short. They are 2 years and a month apart, and this story is a little bit different than the first one. Before I get there, let me just remind you that all birth is beautiful. All birth is transformative and incredible and intense. Just because my birth went a certain way doesn't mean that that's how it's supposed to go. It doesn't mean that's how I believe it should go. My birth could have gone really anyway. Now back to my birth story. As I mentioned, this is my second child, and I had experience from the first. The first one was at a birthing center. It was a water birth, and it was pretty intense and pretty long, 31 hours. Anyway, you can watch that one. This one is quite the opposite. We were expecting Leo to arrive around the same time that Roman did, because Roman was 2.5 weeks early. All the midwives I talked to, my birth photographer, my doula, everybody was on the same page of like, oh yeah, this baby's coming early. It didn't really happen. No, so at 37 weeks, I started having prodromal labor. Prodromal labor means that it's like the very, very early stages of labor. I'm having contractions, and then they eventually fizzle out. So these contractions felt like very mild menstrual cramps or Braxton Hicks, like a combination between the two. Anyway, I was having that consistently every 4 minutes apart, and I was at a birthing class at the time too. So it was like, okay, all right, we're starting. This was it. And it was not it. Because that fizzled out later on that evening. But I wanted to be ready in case he did arrive at 37 weeks like we were expecting. So I was totally prepared. Yes, we had moved like a month and a half prior, and so I was nesting like crazy around the house. I was getting our room set up, but I ended up having 3 full weeks of prodromal labor. So almost every single day I would start having those contractions again, and I'd be like, oh, is this it? And then they would fizzle out hours later. They were such great practice for me to practice, breathing and to stay relaxed. I really wanted to focus that I wasn't gonna tense up in my shoulders like I did the first time. I wanted to keep my mouth relaxed, my hands relaxed, and my shoulders relaxed. And so all of those millions of contractions gave me that opportunity to practice. For those 3 weeks, to try to help the baby arrive, I did a lot of induction. A lot of natural induction. I definitely saw the acupuncturist once or twice a week. I did the Webster chiropractic. I went on tons of walks, drank red raspberry leaf tea. I had pineapple, tons of dates, tons of steak. I wore my orthotics in my shoes, but I wore them like around the house even because I wanted my hips to maintain alignment so that I could like avoid back labor, which is what I had my first birth. Nope, do not want to do that again. I was just so focused on getting everything in place, and all that prodromal labor, I was definitely having cervical change. So I knew that things were happening, and I had to remind myself it's going to happen, and it's going to happen at the pace that it's meant to happen. So it was a really good reminder to be patient, and that this baby's gonna come when the baby's ready, not when I'm ready. At 39 weeks and 6 days is when I went into labor. I noticed that I had some dripping down my leg. That's how my water broke with my first baby. So I called my midwife, and she was like, well, if it reaches your ankle, it could be amniotic fluid. They checked and confirmed that it was amniotic fluid. So I did have a very small leak, and they asked me if I wanted them to check my cervix, because with a birthing center, like it's like really kind of hands off. And if I said no, they would have respected that. But I was really curious. Not the most comfortable thing, by the way, pap from hell. But they checked, and I was 4 centimeters dilated already and 60% effaced. And that really gave me a lot of like hope and positivity, and I felt really confident because of that, because with the first baby, I had labored for 24 hours with back labor before I went in, and I was 4 centimeters dilated. They also checked that the baby was head down. They did like this little ultrasound, and then they put some monitors on me to measure like the contractions, and then to see that the baby's moving, and then how the baby was doing too. All of that was good. Everything was healthy. And they were like, okay, you do what you need to do now. Like, you can go home. So on the way home, I told my husband, like, we should go back to my chiropractor, get one last adjustment while I'm in labor, and maybe do the acupuncture if that's gonna help speed things up. As I mentioned, it was Webster, so it's very different from normal chiropractic, and I seriously could not recommend it enough for pregnant women. Like, it is so good and so gentle, but they also so much happens. Like, it's all about helping the ligaments around like your uterus and in your pelvis like relax, and the alignment of your pelvis to help with baby alignment, and it's good. So he adjusted me, and then was like, yeah, I think we should do the acupuncture. It's gonna bring more oxytocin into your system. It can help with the labor. So we did that. And then by the time that I left, my contractions had slowed down. So before that, they were like legitimately 4 minutes apart on the dot, but they were very mild. So we got home, had dinner, snuggled with Roman for a little bit. After he was in bed, I went to go do the Miles circuit. The Miles circuit is this trio of exercises that you do to help with baby positioning. And because I have a mild scoliosis, and because my pelvis is a little bit torqued, and because I had back labor last time around, it was just so important to me that I followed spinning baby exercises and the Miles circuit. I will link both of those things in the description of this video so you can do more research for yourself too. Anyway, I inverted for 30 minutes off the side of one of our chairs, like a big comfy chair, with my elbows on the ground, so it looked like a dolphin dog with my butt up in the air. After that was over, then I went straight onto the bed to do the side lying exercise. So you lay in this exaggerated side lie on your left side with like tons of pillows underneath your right leg to help your pelvis open up and to help the baby like kind of rotate if he needs to. I ended up laying in that position for like an hour and a half. During one of the contractions, one of those mild ones, I felt this huge pop in my belly. It was unlike anything I've ever felt before. But what was weird was that that pop happened in the middle of a contraction, and it went from like a mild contraction pop to like, wow, contraction. And I was like, oh my gosh, what was that? When that ended, I called my husband because he was downstairs, and he answers, and I was like, okay, I need you now. He's like, what? He's like, what did he say? Like, I'm making some food. I'm like, no, I need you now. Because we thought that, you know, like our prior experience was so long lasting and drawn out that like, this was different for us. So then we call the doula. They are 9 minutes apart on the dot. And so I'm talking to her, and she's like, okay, well, I think that you should go to bed. I think you should, you know, take a bath and relax and try to get some sleep, you know, because just in case this is a really long one like last time, you need your rest. And she was like, I just want to see one of your contractions though. And so I was like, all right, well, like, let's just keep talking until it happens. And they're, like I said, 9 minutes apart. So you don't think that it's really, you're anywhere near gonna have a baby. Like, you're still quite a ways away. Well, I end up having contraction. David's holding the phone so that she can see me. And after it ends, she's like, okay, all right, yeah, that looked pretty legit. I still think you should take a nap. It just wasn't that impressive, you know, like, that doesn't sound as nice as it should, but like, it really wasn't. It was a contraction that was intense. And so after we hung up, I ended up sitting up because I was like, well, I really need to pee now. And when I sat up, I think I had like another one right then, and I like yelled for my husband who's across the room, like, come over here. And so he came over and gave me some support. And then I told him when that one ended, I was like, all right, I need you to start timing these because they feel like they're coming faster. He's like, okay. So he sat down and he started writing down the times of the ones prior, and I got up to go to the bathroom and I had another one. And he's like, is that the same one or is that a different one? Like, I'm trying to like get through it. It ends, and I was like, I don't know, mark it as a different one, because I think that it was a different one, but it felt like it was kind of back to back. And so then I go into the bathroom to pee, and I have another one, but this time the door's closed. I'm trapped in like a 2x4 foot room having a contraction by myself. And then that one ends, and then like less than a minute later, another one. And I literally thought to myself, I am trapped in this bathroom. I'm gonna have a baby trapped in here, like by myself. And then I can hear my husband like knock on the door, like with one knuckle, like, you okay? No, help me out of here. So he opens the door, I get out of there, and I'm like these feel like they're back to back. I'm like, are you timing them? Are you writing them down? And I feel another one coming on. So I run from the bathroom to the side of the bed, and I'm like bent over, like doubled over the side of the bed. And I told him, I need you to shake my hips. So he's standing behind me, like kind of jiggling. And I was like, no, grab the fat on my hips and shake, aggressive. And so he's doing that. And I was like, oh, that helps. Like that really like is helping me get through it. Okay. I didn't know at the time that exact motion of like grabbing and jiggling really hard actually like shoots the baby down. I didn't know that. My doula told me later, she was like, oh, like you guys are making it go faster. And that's not necessarily a good thing if you're in your mind thinking like, ooh, like what a way to be productive about it. Like, no, you want to make sure you have the baby like at the right place where you're expecting to have the baby. It was just intuitive at the moment for me to like have him do that, and it really did help me like cope and get through the contraction. So from the side of the bed, then less than 1 minute later, I'm on all fours on the ground. Like I like barely moved, and I'm having another one, and he is coming over and shaking my hips. I was texting with my birth photographer at the time because I had basically called and texted my birth photographer and my doula like every day the 3 weeks prior, being like, today might be the day, but I don't know. But this time I was like, no, it's for real. Like this is happening. I don't know when it's going to happen, if it's sooner. My birth photographer, Monet, she captured Roman's birth too. Just incredible photographer. Anyway, she texted me back and she said, I've had babies come at 8-minute contractions. You should call the midwives now. So I call the 24-hour number for the midwives. The midwife picks up. I'm in the middle of a contraction. I cannot speak, but she can hear me like roaring because I was making these like deep, long moans. And she goes, okay, Sarah, you need to come in now. We are gonna get the tub going. Just grab your stuff and come on in. So we already had the birth bags in the car. Everything's packed. We just had to run downstairs, put on our shoes, and get in the car. David starts the car. I'm in the back seat, like doubled over the back seat and kind of like in the infant car seat for Leo that we had set up. And we book it to the birthing center. It is a 25-minute drive from our place to the birthing center, and these contractions were 2 minutes apart on the dot. They were 1 minute long. I had 1 minute of a break and then another 1 minute contraction. And I could not do anything during that 1 minute except for what I was doing, which was moaning, like primal noises, moving my body, like gyrating my hips. I was on all fours. The entire time, really, I was like forward facing because I really wanted gravity to help pull the baby away from my back. So I'm in the back seat and my husband's driving and he's asking me like, how are you doing? Like in between the contractions. And I tried answering and then I'd have another one. So the next time around I was like, I need you to talk to me. I need to hear you speak. I can't tell you how I'm doing. You know how I'm doing. You can hear how I'm doing. And when I said that, he was like, I'm trying. I'm really trying, Sarah. I'm feeling really emotional right now. I was like, okay, tell me more. I'm like roaring in the back seat on all fours and in between. And then he's telling me like how strong I am and how he's just so happy that I'm like the woman that's birthing his babies. And like, that was what I needed to hear in that moment. Anyway, at some point while I was in the back of that car contracting during that 25-minute drive, they were just so intense. It was like this full uterus, like from the very top to my pubic bone, just like tightening, like sensation. And it was forcing me to like make these primal sounds just to get through it. And at the same time, I was very, very, like my hands were very relaxed. Just like I tell you guys to do in our yoga videos, like when we go into those really intense, like deep hip openers, relax your hands, relax your mouth, relax your jaw and your shoulders, because if you're tensing here, you're tensing there. And so I was trying to make sure that I kept everything loosey-goosey, my mouth, my hands, my shoulders. But at one point I had a thought, and that thought was, I don't want to be doing this anymore. Like, this sucks. And then I thought, it's way too soon to be thinking that. It's way too early to be thinking that way. And then I thought, unless I'm in transition. I was like, am I in transition? Like, that would be nuts if I was in transition. My belly popped like 45 minutes ago. My next thought after that, when I was like, well, could I be in transition? Was to bear down very gently to see if my body was ready to to start pushing. Also, we were trying to get a hold of my doula while we were in the car and we could not get a hold of her. Apparently she had put down her phone and it was like on vibrate. And because she didn't think that things were gonna happen the way they happened, it was just an unfortunate circumstance. But because we weren't talking to her, like I didn't have the guidance that I would have had to tell me not to bear down and not to even attempt any kind of pushing in the car, because my body would take over, which it did. And all of a sudden, all those contractions turned into legitimate pushing. I reached down, I could feel the baby. I could feel the baby's head. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I asked my husband, how far away are we? And he goes, 10 minutes. And I was like, no. So my husband was driving very safely, but efficiently, but he was also debating whether or not he should pull over or if we will be able to get there in time. Spoiler, we got there in time. Baby's crowning. And I sprint into the birthing center and we get into our room. I put my stuff on the counter and then I double over the birthing tub, which is filling up with water. David's behind me and he's like jiggling my hips really hard. And this time I asked him to shake my belly. And while he was doing that, I felt this hand on my back. And it was the most comforting, grounding, the touch that I needed in that moment, because it was like this. As the baby's crowning, I felt like I was tearing front and back. I don't want to scare you. In the end, this is all extremely incredible. Like, it was a really amazing experience. But at the time, like, that was a moment that was very intense, that I was like, oh my goodness, this is very uncomfortable. The baby's coming out and I feel like I'm tearing right now. And so in between contractions, I stepped one leg over and then the other leg into the tub. My hands were on the side of the tub and my butt was in the water. And I had my next contraction and the baby's head came out. And what was weird was that after the baby's head came out, there was this long pause. Like, it felt really long. It felt like it was minutes, but it was like, okay, like, breathe. And it was really almost like silent and calm. And then I just trusted my body's gonna tell me when it's time. Right now, just relax. And then I felt the next one coming, and then I birthed the baby on that second contraction in the water, and I pulled him up to my chest. I think I said, wow, like, wow, wow. That was fast. That was crazy. That was very different than the first time around. It was, all in all, it was an hour and 10 minutes from when my belly popped when I was laying on the bed to us having a baby in the birthing center in my arms. I was only at the birthing center for 10 minutes before the baby was born. That was nuts. Like, I went from 9-minute contractions. I had 4 9-minute contractions that were legitimate active labor. And then I went straight into 2-minute contractions. I didn't even know that was a thing. Apparently it is. So it was a fast and furious labor, and I'm super happy with how it went. Like, that was so cool. After he was born, after, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes in the tub, we moved over to the bed to do some skin to skin with the baby and for the baby to start to latch on a little bit. And it was very just relaxing, very calm, no rush. So my doula arrived. She was just kind of providing some mental support, some emotional support, helping us like kind of process everything a little bit. And we got a big plate of snacks that I could eat. Man, I felt like it was just luxury. I'm laying in this big comfy bed with my husband, my baby, and I get to like eat crackers and cheese. So then 4 hours after I birthed the baby at the birthing center, we are ready to go home. So then we got dressed, we got the baby dressed, drove home, and went to bed. The next morning, we brought Roman in. That introduction was really adorable, and Roman was so like excited but shy, a little bit nervous, and then he wants to touch the baby, and just adorable introduction and the beginning of our family. So yeah, that's birth story number 2. And if you're interested in checking out another really beautiful, incredible, and powerful, positive birth story, I want you to check out my friend Brett Larkin. She had a baby a little while ago and she just made her birth story as well. And we know how hard it is to find positive birth stories on the internet. So this is another person I want you to check out. She also has a YouTube yoga channel. So there's like so much there that you can enjoy on her channel as well as mine. Make sure that you like this video if you enjoyed my story, let me know, and leave a message in the comments. If you have questions, leave it in the comments. Oh yeah, like I have a whole prenatal yoga and postnatal yoga series and programs and all of that I built while I was pregnant and in my last postpartum, so I want you to check that out as well. Everything is linked in the description of this video, also in the first comment. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I have new uploads every week to help you stretch, strengthen, tone, de-stress, and become your best self on and off the mat. Have a good day. Bye.